Hey everyone, so it's a beautiful day, so I thought I would just do a currently reading video. So I used to do these kind of type of videos where I just kind of chat about what I'm reading. I used to do Friday reads is what I'll call them, but the problem with Friday reads is you have to remember to record and edit and post by Friday. And that just doesn't always happen for me. I just have to kind of go with the flow, and seeing as it's Monday, I missed Friday, but we're almost at the end of a full week of March. So let's just talk about what I'm reading and call it currently reading. So the great thing about these type of videos is that I don't edit them very much. I just chat about my feelings about what I have finished this week or I'm reading this week. I'm not going to give like star ratings or synopsis. I'm just going to kind of talk about what I liked or didn't like, feelings about some of the things I've read, and then you'll hear in detail some of the other stuff in my wrap-ups. But I've read a lot already, so that's why my wrap-ups will this month will probably be kind of less the feelings. It'll be kind of just overall stuff, not like little details about anything, because I've read so much. So I just want to talk about some of the things that have stood out for the things that I'm reading right now. So let's talk about the things that I have already finished or my one DNF. So I started the very beginning of middle grade March with a DNF. I had picked up first day Percy Jackson's Greek Heroes by Rick Riordan. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm very curious if I were to reread Percy Jackson, which I plan to do with my daughter who loves Greek myths, how I'm going to feel about them, because I really enjoyed them when I read them quite a while ago, but I have read other like middle grade fantasy since then that I have enjoyed quite a lot, and so I just don't know how I'm gonna feel going back to that, because this I could not get very far. I made it through one story, so these are like retellings of the Greek myths. I made it through one story and I was like, this is just too much teenage boy humor, and it was driving me nuts and I just couldn't handle it. And so I'm keeping it if my daughter wants to read it sometime, because she loves Greek myths, but I was not interested at all. And I'm really curious if trying Percy Jackson again will be a bad idea, but I would like to at least start it with my daughter and see. But that was not a great start to middle grade March. But then I picked up Ghost by Jason Reynolds, and this just like was amazing. So at the same time I was reading this, I was like finishing off like a section of Disability Visibility, which is like stories from people who have different disabilities. And there were just some of those essays, stories where like true life stories where I'm just like, people like society has completely deserted this person, and like it just makes me so angry. And then I picked this book up and I'm like, there are good people out there in the world, because this is like has a boy as the main character who a lot of things have gone bad in his life, and he doesn't have like an adult that's there for him all the time, because his dad's in prison. His mom has to work all the time to like support them. She's a caring mom, but she just can't be there with him. And then he gets this coach, and like the coach just touched my heart. Like, he just is there for this kid, is like lifting him up, making sure he knows that he is not alone or lost. And yeah, this just gave me all the feels, and reading those at the same time, this just gave me more hope in humanity, that there are like people out there, and I just wish every kid could have a mentor like the coach in this book. So that was a great experience. Sorry, I'm like throwing them over there. I don't have anywhere to put the books over here. And then I picked up Finding Langston, which is historical fiction. Loved this as well. I think the detail in this that really stood out to me that I loved was just the way that they interspersed the poetry of Langston Hughes, and how this little boy just feels so much solace and like feels seen through that poetry. And it impacts me, because sometimes you pick up a book and you just feel seen. You just feel like that writer is talking right to me. And I just love that element in here, that this boy just was like, is he writing just to me? Is this whole book of poetry just for me? And we've all had that feeling before, and she captures it in this book, and I just love that about it. And that made me once again just love life. And then I finished Amari and the Great Game, which is book 2. I had started this, I saw my bookmark in there. I'd started this a long time ago and was feeling like it was really slow compared to the first book. I had started, I think, in December, and then put it down, like I read like half of it, put it down for 2 months, and then I was like, okay, it's middle grade March, I should finish this so I can return this to the library. And I do love Amari, and it did save itself at the end, but I feel like this was a bit of a sophomore slump, in my opinion, like compared to book 1. Still love the character, but yeah, it just didn't have the propulsion in this like it did in the first book. So yeah, still love Amari, still love where her like story is going. Like I still want to continue and follow her. Yeah, I just don't know what it was. It was like, it's so hard to put into words, but the first book was so propulsive. I read it twice, like once in, I think, when did it come out? What, it would have been 2021, and then I read it again in 2022, so 1 year apart, and still like loved it the second time, still felt very compelled through the whole thing and intrigued. And then this one, I think it was the game element. Like when you see The Great Game, you expect an amazing game element, and this just didn't stand up in the game element. Like I wanted to be really feeling the stakes in that game and really feeling it in those moments, and it dropped the ball in the game, in my opinion. And then we had the Let's Get Graphic readathon this past weekend, and I kind of extended it a little bit because it was supposed to be like March 3rd through 4th, which is like Friday to Saturday, but I didn't really read any graphic novels on Friday, so I kind of did it over the weekend, and I'm finishing up a few, which you'll see in my currently reading. But the things I finished were Garlic and the Vampire and Garlic and the Witch. And these, what I love about them is, other than the color palette, which is absolutely gorgeous, like obviously the color palette in and of itself is just, yeah, it gives all the fall vibes and everything. But what I love about this is that I want to share this with my kids because it shows, like, it's a story about garlic, like what's that called, amorphosize, when they like take something and make it like look like human. It's just that as a garlic, but it gives like real examples of things that can like be hard for kids. Like this one involves like anxiety, and this one is kind of basically like puberty. And just like being able to hand this to kids and to read, has such a beautiful color palette, has great characters, but also like teaches them that it's okay to have all these like insecurities and things in life. And so yeah, I love that. But like the color palette, oh my gosh, I just want to like show you some of these like pages, like, but I don't want to spoil anything about this book. So I don't know, like just like look at the colors. Like yeah, if you love fall colors, that one's great. All right, so those are the things that I have finished so far in this first week. My daughter came just now. I thought she was going to ask for something, but no, she went to take Garlic and the Witch and Garlic and the Vampire and go look at it. They've already been looking at them, and I'm very excited that they like them because I want to read those books to them. I think my older one could probably read them and she'd be okay because it doesn't have a lot of words in it, and she's in 2nd grade, so she's starting to read books like that. But anyways, like I was saying, let's talk about what I'm currently reading. Like I said, I started some graphic novels that I didn't finish during that readathon, so I will finish them. The Tea Dragon Society, everybody talks about this. Like, it's just as gorgeous as everybody says. I mean, just like very first page opening up is just so darn cute and beautiful graphics. I haven't gotten very far into the story, so I can't really tell you anything. This is split up into like the different seasons, and I've only gone through the first season, so I haven't gone very far. But yeah, just beautiful. Like all of the drawings, like look at that dragon, so cute. Okay, so that's all I have to say about this one. That is just cute. I don't have anything else to say because I'm only like a little bit into it, but loving the art. Already want to like read the whole series just for the artwork. And then I also started When Stars Are Scattered, which is a memoir, and I'm halfway through. This one's taking me a little longer because it is like a thick book. Like this is like a couple hundred pages, but I think the thing that like I love about this, the little minutia that makes this such a great story, is yes, we are learning about life in a refugee camp and like day-to-day life, but we're also just seeing like a brother who loves his brother and wants to take care of him, wants to do the best thing for him, and at the same time is like, his brother has a disability, he's babying his brother, but then at the same time he's realizing his brother's growing up and needs to be able to do some things on his own. And that element of the story is just so beautiful, him realizing that like, yes, he is standing up and like taking care of his brother as like a young boy himself, that he is there for his brother all the time, and that is his, like, he feels his responsibility and he loves that responsibility. He doesn't feel burdened by it. He loves it, but at the same time he also is learning that his brother is capable of doing things, and he's seeing that for like the first time and like really encouraging that in his brother. And yeah, it's beautiful. So that one will get finished soon. And then like other things in the middle of, I started to read aloud with my daughter, The Wild Robot. A lot of people recommend this as a read aloud for younger kids because it has a lot of like big full page pictures, and we haven't got very far. We're only 20 pages. We just started it yesterday, so we read it one night. And yeah, other than like, what I like about this is that chapters are super short, like 2 pages. Each chapter has 1 full page picture, at least, probably. Like, I mean, maybe not like a full page picture, but like, you know, this one is just a pine cone, but still like a big graphic, so it keeps the attention of the kids. So I love that about it. And then when I'm really pretty good chunk of the way in, this is my audiobook, is Waiting for Normal. Sorry, did get interrupted by the kids, but I usually am not a fan of middle grade contemporaries. They're usually not high on my list. I'm often more just like drawn to middle grade fantasies. That's just what I enjoy reading. But I wanted to pick this up because it fits into the category of neurodivergent main character. Our main character is dyslexic. Her mother is bipolar, but like, we're following this young girl and learning a lot about her dyslexia and how it affects music, which was so interesting because I never thought about that. Is that, you know, like, she talks about how she has a harder time reading and how she uses like a ruler to keep the words from, she calls it like, from dancing around on the page, so she can keep them in a straight line and follow along. And I've heard that from like other books with representation of dyslexia, but I never heard it from the music angle. She really loves playing the flute and she wants to be good at it. She wants to join this like higher orchestra in her school, but like, she can't just like sight read music because, once again, the notes kind of dance on the page, which I don't know if that's correct representation, if that happens to other dyslexic people, or maybe it's not like exactly dyslexia that she has, like maybe it is something else that makes things move on the page. But just the fact that that is like a different thing, so she can't sight read, she has to like hear the piece and a couple times and then like go through and mark things and like figure it out little by little. And like, so she needs a lot of extra practice at the beginning before she joins in on regular practice. And I just thought that was really interesting to hear that. And I am like really like interested in the things that she does in, you know, her life, like learning how to read music like that. But then also just, there's a lot going on in her life, and I just really feel for this little girl. So even though I don't read a lot of contemporary middle grade, I'm like really invested in this girl's life. And I'm only halfway through the book. I don't know how it's going to end up, but I really hope all good things for this kid, because it's a hard home life that she is dealing with. And there are people that love her, but that don't have like legal custody of her. And that is just like, I also don't see that issue a lot come up in books, at how the person that has legal custody of you might not be the best person for you to be living with, but there's nothing that the other people that in your life that love you can do, because that person has the legal right to be your parent. And yeah, so it's a hard book, but I'm like really loving this main character. Then like, what else? I have got a couple things that I just started, so I don't have much to say about them, but I you know me, ultimate mood reader. I pick up things, read a chapter, put it down. That's what happened to Layla and the Blue Fox. I really want to read this. I'm really excited to read it, but I've only read 1 chapter, and that was like several days ago, and I didn't come back to it, but we'll come back to that. I already loved the first line of this. She is going to like, she's going from one place to, I think she's going from like England to Norway, and she has to go through customs, and I can't remember where they're from originally. I think it's somewhere in the Middle East. Don't quote me on that. I can't remember exactly. But her sister, you know, is trying to talk her through going through customs and like yeah, so she is Middle Eastern. And how you talk to a customs officer. Yeah, it looks like they're Syrian. And that is like the very first line. The very first line of this book is, look them in the eyes, but don't stare. Don't blink too much. Smile, not with teeth, with your eyes, but don't squint. And those are like her sister's instructions of how to talk to a customs officer, and repeating in her head. And she's just really nervous about going through customs. And so from the very beginning, it pulled me in to her story, but haven't continued. I will continue though. I just get distracted by all the books. There's just too many good books I want to read. Same thing with Emperor Mage by Tamara Pierce. This is book 3 in the Immortals. I'm only 17 pages in, but this is like my nighttime book. And so I've just been lately, it's like the one I pick up right before bed, and I just fall asleep. And that's the problem. Like I have been reading this for like 4 days, and only gotten 17 pages because I guess I'm just really tired at night. But someday, probably soon, I'll get far enough into it where I'll just like pick it up during the day and actually focus on it. One that I will definitely be focusing on the next few days is Sisters of the Never Sea, which I didn't put the cover on because I'm actively reading this. I'm buddy reading this, and this is a Peter Pan retelling, and just in the first 3 chapters I can just tell that I'm gonna love this. Peter Pan is one of those stories where I'm like it has great things about it, some like good whimsical things, love the fairies, and there are aspects of it that I enjoy, but at the same time it's pretty problematic in modern time to like think about like the Native American representation. Horrible, obviously racist, and like some of the things with Peter and taking these kids and, you know, the Lost Boys, like there's some weird things going on there. But this is written by an Indigenous author, so like I was really excited to read this because I want to have that magic and whimsy of Neverland, but without all the like racism and the bad stuff. So I'm really having faith so far. Like I like that we're following these kids. It's very grounded in like contemporary life. Like we're seeing them as a family and what they're doing in their day-to-day life and the struggles they're having in their family, because their family's kind of splitting up. Their parents aren't getting divorced, but like the dad got a job somewhere else, and so he's moving somewhere else, and they're already like a mixed family, like as in like half siblings, step siblings. And so it's like, who's gonna go where? Are they gonna stay together, the parents? So it's grounded in some real life things, but then there's this magical thing, you know, Tinkerbell arrives, and well, she's called Belle in this, and then Peter shows up, and that's as far as I've gotten so far. It's just the very beginning, so I don't know how close it's gonna follow to the original, but you can see the like grounded in reality, but and these real kids and their issues and their like struggles as siblings, and then this like whimsical fairy land that I'm excited to see how that goes. And then I have a couple adult books, which I'm only going to mention because I've just started them. I just got in the mood to read some T. Kingfisher. Her newest book is coming out soon, and people have been talking about it everywhere. Like all these people that got like advanced reading copies have been talking about it. I've been really jealous, and so I just decided to pick up one I've already read by her just to kind of flip through it every once in a while. I don't even have a bookmark in here because I've been doing it on ebook, just because I want to visit this world of hers. She's got several books in this world, like 2 different series and then a standalone that all take place in the same world, and I just want to revisit it because I'm jealous that everybody else is reading A House with Good Bones and I'm not. So I just want to spend some time with T. Kingfisher. Do I have T. Kingfisher books that I haven't read yet that I could be reading? Yes, but sometimes you just want to settle back into a world you already know and characters you already know, and that's what I want. Even from the very beginning, I just love Slate. She's our like character that we're mostly following this. She's a forger, and I just love her, and I just want to be with her on this adventure. And so sometimes you just got to have that. Even though it's middle grade March and I've been focusing mostly on that, and I have other things I could be reading. I could be doing Tour.comathon, which I said I was going to do, but I just want to be with Slate, okay? Sometimes it just feels like returning to friends and hanging out with them, and that's what this is definitely like a travel book, which normally I don't like, but I love all the characters in this, so I just want to go on an adventure with them, and I just want to like do a road trip with these people, and that's it. That's what why I picked it up, and I'm just gonna read it slow over the month because it's a reread. Or maybe there might be a day where I just need some comfort and I might end up reading the whole thing. But for now, I'm just taking it slow and dipping in and out of it. And then the other thing that's exciting is I have officially started the Fellowship of the Ring, or the Lord of the Rings, if you want to talk about it as one thing instead of as a trilogy. So my best friend and I last year had spent the entire year reading Les Mis. If you have watched any of my Friday reads, you knew that I was like updating over the year last year, and then I talked about it at the end of the year when I finished it in December. We took like the entire year to read Les Mis because it's huge, and we didn't, read anything together January and February, and I was like, I just really miss reading a big book with you and like doing it slow. And so we were like, well, let's do it again. What do we want to read? And we kind of like, we're looking at different things. We almost decided on Oliver Twist, but I was like, I just don't know if I can do depressing right now, because Les Mis was depressing. It was great. There was a lot of things I loved about it, but it's about there's reasons called Les Miserables. Like, it's about the people that are struggling. It's about, being miserable. But like, people that are really having a hard time, and that's what Oliver Twist is about. It's following orphans and people that are struggling. And I was just like, I don't think I can do that right now. Maybe later on, but right now I want something a little different than that. And so we decided to read the whole Lord of the Rings. So we're going to take our time with it. I think this will go faster because it is fantasy and more adventure, so I'm sure there's going to be a point where we will move pretty quickly through this. But then I also know there's some sections that kind of drag a little. My husband warned me that there's like sections where they just talk about who's related to who. I don't know what section that is. I've never read Lord of the Rings. My friend Jenny has read Lord of the Rings, so the person I'm buddy reading it has read this, but she wanted to revisit it, and I really want to read it, and I want to talk about it with my best friend. And so I don't know how long. Maybe we'll only do 6 months instead of a whole year, and just spend like a couple months on each of the books. Yeah, so we've already started it. We're kind of going back and forth between reading it physically and listening to the audiobook that's narrated by the guy who plays Gollum. Is that Andy Serkis? I don't know how to say his last name. But the guy who plays Gollum. And I'm already loving his narration, so I feel like I'll probably lean heavily on the audiobook just because I think he's a great narrator, but I might pick this up too. Also, I don't know what I was thinking getting this version, but the like writing is so tiny, like tiny. So I don't know how much I'm actually going to want to read this, and maybe when I'm done I might get rid of this version and actually get a version that I could read with my eyes, because I already have bifocals, people. They're transitions so you can't see the line, but I already have trouble seeing little writing. Why did I buy this version that has the tiniest font known to man? So I have a feeling I'm going to be doing a lot of the audiobook. I'm super excited, even just like listening to the introduction. The audiobook has like an introduction written by Tolkien that just like got me really excited to read this. She's really excited about it. Like last time when we started Les Mis, it took us like a month to get started. Like we got the books, we talked about it. This was like, we decided on Lord of the Rings. I asked her, hey, what's the plan? She's like, I just pushed play 5 minutes ago. And I'm like, oh, I guess we're starting. So yeah, we're just starting up, and that'll probably be ongoing for a few months. It was not a plan this year to read the whole Lord of the Rings, because I talked about which series I planned on like starting and finishing this year. That wasn't on the plan, but who cares? I'm just excited to be buddy reading with my best friend again. Now I have talked for a long time. Usually I keep these currently reading videos a little shorter, but I have a lot of things that I am reading, a lot of things I finished, a lot of things I have picked up because I just love middle grade March, and I just want to read like all of the middle grade, and I can't be reading all of the middle grade at one time. So let's hope that I don't pick up anything new for a few days and I finish some of these things, and then next week when I talk to you, then I can like have picked up new things after I finish some stuff. So that's it for me. I hope you are enjoying your month, whether you're doing middle grade March or whatever you are reading. Hope you're having beautiful weather like I am. That's why I'm outside. I'm like, I have to be outside. It's beautiful. So that's it for me. I'll see you next time. Bye.